Quran has been transferred through recurrence from the mouth of our Prophet, peace be upon him, by verbal recitation, hearing, and pronunciation. Quran has been transferred through thousands of ways, through Prophet's companions, then through companions' students. And Hafs is only a way of these thousands. If Hafs did say a wrong letter in Quran by mistake, all Muslims would correct him. Secondly, Hafs was born 8 years after death of the Prophet, and Quran was written through 1 year of the Prophet's death. Every letter in Quran is written even before Hafs by 8 years. Thirdly, Hafs bin Sulayman wasn't perfect at the science of narration, of prophetic tradition, hadith, because all his time was consumed in reading and making others read Quran. So he isn't reliable in narrating a hadith. This is obvious and normal, as man could spend all his time in one field of knowledge, then he participates in different fields. So he becomes perfect in the first, unlike everyone else in the second. And this is one of his specialties at the first Islamic century. Those who specialized and worked all the time in Quran's moods of recitation, qira'at, they didn't go to the prophetic hadith studies, because the prophetic hadith studies needs the entire age for the verification of men and their defects, and memorizing hundreds of thousands of hadith texts. So it is obvious that Hafs isn't perfect in the prophetic hadith, but at the same time he was an outstanding scholar in Quran's modes of recitation. The prominent scholar of the prophetic hadith, Ibn Hajar, said that Hafs not acted upon in hadith, but he is one of the best scholars in Quran's modes of recitation. These words of Ibn Hajar are existent in the same source in which you take information, but you take one part and leave the others. And I don't know why you didn't complete the sentence. Imam Hafs is one of the best scholars in Quran's modes of recitation, and all of those scholars that you take information from their books, all of them agree that Hafs is the best in Quran's modes of recitation. Imam al-Dhahabi said that Hafs is authentic and outstanding scholar in Quran's modes of recitation. But
welcome to another episode of the live stream, My Journey to the Trinity. Sorry about the a little bit fuzzy, like looks like it's not sure exactly what's going on there, but anyway, I just been listening to a lot of stuff about this particular subject lately, and I just thought, you know what, I wanted to say something about it, about the subject of the collapse of the Hafs, the Hafs Quran, and the problems with it, because of the problems with Hafs himself, the guy who wrote the Hafs Quran. And so there's been some wonderful stuff on Hatun Tash's channel, and there's also on just gotta give hats off to Sam Shimon and on Answering Islam. They got some awesome stuff about this. And so you know, I'll be honest, you know, the thing that kind of really made me want to do this particular episode was the fact that one of my friends, Alauddin, he's actually the one who posted this video, and I know it's all over the place. It's not just here in Alauddin's. Oh, is it the lens again? That was the problem last time, wasn't it? Is that better? Let me see. I made it worse. Oh, okay, there you go. You know what made me interested in it? I know what Hatun Tash and Jay Apologetics are doing on the subject is just awesome, you know, and I think they're going to be doing a really big funeral service for the Hafs Quran tomorrow. So anyway, I just wanted to do a little bit, and I just want to say that I'm really happy that Alauddin did this. You know, the reason I'm happy is because it means that Muslims are taking note. That Muslims are taking note that they have a problem, and this problem is, I mean, in regards to the Quran, you know, the problem isn't just the Hafs, it's the Warsh, Susi, Dudi, Kalun, all of different Qurans, and the fact that there are all these different Qurans, but specifically with the Hafs, because that's the one that's, I don't know, 90% of the world, 90% of the Muslims in the world read the Hafs Quran. And so, this is such an important Quran. It's so important uh, to the Muslims, and yet, as Jay Smith has shown, that it wasn't until 1924 that it was actually codified and you know said that this is the one that's the universal Quran that everybody's going to get. And it was after the situation in Egypt where there was these standardized tests of students, and all the students were doing great on the standardized test except for in the area of Quran. And when it came to Quran, everybody had different answers for all the surahs, and they said, why is this all these different answers? And they realized, well, uh, it's because there were so many different Qurans out there. And so Egypt went, took all their Qurans, you know, put them in the river. This is what Jay Smith says, and I'm sure if he says it that it's documented. And then, but they decided to keep the Hafs. The Hafs became the standard Quran. So anyway, that's why the Hafs Quran today is the biggest in the world. And Saudi Arabia, Egypt, most of the Middle East, Syria, the United States, Europe, they're all using the Hafs Quran. That's the number one. Now, there's some places where it's illegal, like in Algeria, Morocco, they won't even use them. They use the Warsh Quran. In Somalia, Sudan, those areas use it's called the Susi and Al Duri. And then in Libya, they use the Al Qalun. So, there's all these different Qurans, which, you guys know about. But the biggie, the number one Quran, is the Hafs. But the problem with the Hafs is some of the issues with Imam Hafs himself. And so I just wanted to look at some of these issues. And the reason I wanted to do this is because Alauddin posted this. So I'd say, Alauddin, if you're watching, this is for you. I'm happy that you posted this. I'm happy that you're aware of this situation, and I'm happy that you realize that you have a problem, and so that you're trying to defend it here with this guy. And another thing is, I want the way this guy defends the Hafs Quran, I think, is worthy of a response too, because there's a lot of things he says that I don't agree with. Some of the stuff I'm offended by it, the stuff that he says. And so anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about this video. And then also at the end, I will talk a little bit about some of what happened today when I went out witnessing. I had a pretty good experience, but it was in Arabic, but I'll go ahead and play it for you and translate it into English. It's not very long. So anyway, first of all, let's look at what some people have said about Hafs. Why is this guy doing this? Why is this imam, why is he doing
hadith.
why is he on this let's defend Hafs kick? What's behind it? And it is that there's a lot of stuff against Hafs. And so let's look at some of that stuff and it's one thing if it's going to be Christian missionaries saying this stuff. No, these are the big guns, the very big, some of the most highly respected Muslim scholars in history who are bringing into question Hafs's integrity. And so let's just look at some of the stuff. And again, I thank, yes, big fan. Liar is Liar, but I know what you're saying. Excuse me. These are some really big issues. There's some very big issues because Hafs is so highly regarded, and so let's just look at some of the stuff that has been said about him, and then I want to play the video and I want to respond to each thing that this guy said. There's some very specific arguments that he makes that are so weak, and so I just would like to watch this video and then respond to it. Okay, so let's look at first of all at some of the reasons why he's doing this. It's because of these quotes about Hafs himself. Okay, here's one. This is Al-Bukhari who said this in Tarikh al-Kabir. This is a book, a history book, volume 2, page 363. Now, you guys, this is Al-Bukhari. This is the source of the Sahih Hadith, the most highly regarded Hadith. Okay, this is what he says. Hafs ibn Sulayman al-Sa'di Abu Umar al-Qari said that Alqama ibn Murtad and Asim, they left, abandoned him. Who is Hafs ibn Abi Dawood al-Kufi? Now, the important word here is they left. In the Arabic, it's the word matruk. Matruk. And matruk, they translated it here, abandoned. And that's really when you use the word matruk, baturkak, utruku, leave him. It means utruk, leave. Matruk means that he was abandoned. But that means that, another way of translating this, and I'm not sure who I heard saying, but this is very good, is rejected. That Hafs was rejected. Okay. And okay, now this is the Hafs who is the one who communicated. Okay, it was the awesome recitation, the awesome recitation, and Hafs was like his main student. And so the Quran they have today is the Hafs. They chose it, and but this is what, you guys, this is Bukhari of Sahih al-Bukhari saying this about him, that his, let's read it again, that he is forsaken, he is abandoned. Why? Because he's unreliable. Okay, let's look at some other stuff it says about him. It says, Hafs ibn Sulayman al-Sa'di Abu Umar al-Qari said, Alqama ibn Murtad al-Asim, they left. Okay, this is the same one. Sorry, guys. I had it twice. Okay, here's another one. Hafs ibn Sulaymani al-Sa'di ibn Umar from Kufa said, I see the Qari, Quran or narrator, Hafs ibn Abi Dawood. Okay, so this is a different Hafs that is saying this. Hafs ibn Abi Dawood, Asim and Alqama ibn Murtad were silent regarding him. Hafs ibn Umar ibn Abi al-Atif says he narrates false hadiths. He narrates false hadiths. This is al-Bukhari. This is al-Bukhari, you guys. Again, the other quote was from his book, Tarikh al-Kabir, the big history book. This one is Tarikh al-Saghir, which means the small history. Tarikh al-Saghir, volume 2, page 233. And that's dude, what an indictment. He narrates false hadiths. This is al-Bukhari is saying this about Hafs. You guys, this is unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable that al-Bukhari is saying this. Here, Ida is saying that Tarka in Farsi. What does it mean in Farsi, Ida? I know in Arabic, utruk means to leave or to desert, لماذا تركتني? Why did you leave me? Utruku, leave him. It's like, just leave it behind, like matruk. But yeah, that's what it's called, is matruk, meaning also rejected. It means you're rejected. And so that's what they're saying about the hadiths of Hafs. To reject, to leave. Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Ida. That in Farsi is the same thing as in Arabic, which means to leave, to abandon, to reject. Quoting Psalm 22:1. Yes, David. I do. That's one of my favorite psalms. I love that. Yes, what Jesus said. Lama taraktani. Why did you leave me? And so anyway, but apparently Hafs was also matruk, rejected, when it came to hadith. Okay, and now you see that's why it's important, because there's a little bit of confusion if you haven't. Depends how much you've heard about this situation with Hafs, the Quran, and the hadith, because there's this kind of this little confusion about it, because they're talking about the hadith and they're talking about the Quran, and the rejection where they really say he's rejected. And I mean, I almost want to write some of the stuff down that it says about his relationship to hadith, because this is again al-Bukhari, Okay, al-Bukhari. And, false hadiths. They call his hadiths false. False hadith. What does it mean when somebody narrates false hadiths? What does it mean about somebody when they narrate false hadith? And you guys remember, when you're saying hadith, you're talking about Muhammad's words. So when you're talking about hadith, you're not talking just about Umar bin Khattab's words or about Aisha's words. No, you're talking about Muhammad's words. And he said that Hafs narrated false hadith. What does that say about him? And this is even worse right here. Again, this is al-Bukhari, you guys. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, that this was al-Bukhari. Again, the thing that, all right, it says, Hafs ibn Sulayman al-Sa'di Umar said, from Al-Qama ibn Markad, who said they abandoned him. Again, okay, when they say they abandoned him, that means they rejected him. Matruk, taraku. And watch some of the other videos where they have somebody read the word in Arabic. It's taraku. They left him. They rejected him. Okay. And Ahmed bin Hanbal. Okay, now you guys, I think you guys, most of you who are here, you know who this is. This is one of the major schools of Islam. There's Hanbali, the Shafi'i. I got it memorized. Anyway, this guy is one of the major schools of Islam. One of the four major schools. Ahmed ibn Hanbal, said that Yahya told me that Shuba said Hafs ibn Sulayman took a book from me and never returned it. He also said Hafs used to take people's books and copy them. He used to take people's books and copy them. I think, and this is in al-Bukhari, in al-Duwafa al-Saghir. Duwafa al-Saghir. Okay. What you call this today? Take people's books and copy them. This is called copyright violation. You're violating copyright. Somebody wrote it and you're kind of like taking it and taking credit for it, like you wrote it. Okay. It's called plagiarism. That's a simple word for it, is plagiarism. So he used to copy, people's, Okay, let's look at this one. Abu Omar said, this is Hafs ibn Sulayman, the Qari, Quran reader or narrator from Kufa. And his hadiths are to be abandoned. This is Al-Albani in his book Arwa al-Ghalil. Okay, volume 1, page 260. Dude, a very big heavy hitter, Albani. He says his hadiths are to be abandoned, matrukin, or rejected. And Uman Abu Hafs followed him, who was also known as Ibn Hafs Abdi. And he is like him in weakness or weaker. Revised by Tabarani in Al-Kabir, and Qawl al-Haythami in his Isnad, and they are trustworthy men. But he, Hafs, was cavalier in the matter, and so should not be looked at or acknowledged. Wow. He was cavalier in the matter, so he should not be looked at, meaning acknowledged. You guys, false hadiths, cavalier. That's, cavalier, plagiarism. All these guys, these are big, heavy hitters, you guys, who are saying these things about him, saying these things about Hafs. Let's look at here. I got a bunch of them here. Ibn Hatim said from Abdullah, from his father, and he, Hafs, is one whose hadiths are abandoned, rejected. Uthman ad-Darimi and others said from Ibn Mu'ayyan that he, Hafs, is not to be trusted. Okay, not to be trusted. Okay. Ibn al-Madani said, his hadith, Hafs hadiths are weak, and I have abandoned them on purpose. Wow. Al-Jawzani said, I am finished, done with him, Hafs, a long time ago. You know, it would be one thing if the Christian was saying this, but these are Muslims. Al-Bukhari, you guys, Al-Bukhari, the top source of the Sahih Hadith, Al-Bukhari, said they have abandoned him. They have rejected him. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Muslim, okay, now this is the Muslim of Sahih Muslim, said he has been abandoned or left. They're not looking to him for truth about what Muhammad said. See, all these things that we're talking about, you guys, is very important, and I know you guys know this, but I just want to say, what we're talking about is the Hafs Hadith, because he was also involved with Hadith. But in the matter of Hadith, he was found to be unreliable, not trustworthy, cavalier, you know. And so, okay, let's continue. Okay. Salah ibn Muhammad said, Hafs hadiths are not to be written, and all his hadiths are all, Salah ibn Muhammad, all hadiths are false. Again, thank you to Sam Shimon for compiling this list. It's unbelievable. As Sari said, Hafs narrates false hadith. The same was said by Shamak and others. Abu Zara said, his Hafs hadiths are weak. I mean, this guy has a really bad reputation, man. You know, he has a really bad reputation. And there was one particular quote that I wanted to show you, and that is that all his hadiths are false. Isn't that amazing? Can you believe that? I'm just like, it's just amazing that it would say this is the guy who wrote the Hafs Quran. He's the guy behind the Hafs Quran. Okay, and that's the number one Quran in all the world right now. 90% or 85 to 90% of the Qurans in the world are Hafs Qurans. And this is what his contemporaries said about him. His false hadiths, he's cavalier, he's a plagiarizer, he's not to be trusted, that he's done with him, and all his hadiths are false. These are what the guy said about him, you guys, including Bukhari. So you got to wonder, now, this is the guy who wrote the Hafs Quran, which is the number one Quran in the world today. And so in light of that, now let's listen to this guy. Now let's listen a little bit to what this guy said. And there was one other thing I wanted to tell you guys too, is that I don't want you guys to be distracted, but this friend of mine gave me this monkey, and so it's kind of in honor of my friend that I'm keeping it here. So, okay, so okay. But one of the things that was said, and is that whenever there's a chain of narrators, you know, the way the hadiths have chain of narrators, and you know, Aisha said to Umar bin Khattab, I said, this person said that, this, and then you have like 20 lists in there. It says just the presence of Hafs in the chain of narrators weakens the chain of narrators. Just the presence of Hafs in the chain weakens the chain. So it could be a chain, a golden chain, with all the best, Ibn Abbas and Aisha and Omar and all those. And if Hafs is in the chain, it weakens it because the guy was so untrustworthy. So welcome, Amir Iqbal. God bless you. So, this is the kind of situation that we got with Hafs. And so, Aladdin posted this video today. And so let's just look at this guy and let's just, as we watch it, talk about it as we watch it, okay? So.
Just good. And Omar al-Balkhi said, is your argument? Believe me, you are broke. Any Muslim, just a student of Sharia, will listen to you, will laugh at your argument. First
of all, laugh. People are going to laugh at you. It's trying to weaken the argument by insulting people, saying that your arguments are laughable, whatever.
First of all, you have to know that Quran has been transferred through recurrence from the mouth of our Prophet, peace be upon him, by verbal recitation, hearing, and pronunciation. Quran has been transferred through thousands of ways, through prophets, companions, then through companions, students. And Hafs is only a way of these thousands. If Hafs did say,
Hafs is only one way of the thousands. But the problem is, Hafs is in more Muslim homes than any other by far. He's saying the Quran, Hafs is only one of them. Dude, but Hafs is the one that is in everybody's home. Everybody who has a Quran today, 90% of them have Hafs. And they believe it's from the Lawh al-Mahfuz. They believe this is what Jibreel told Muhammad. This is what they believe. So, you're saying that it came from all these millions of sources or whatever. Dude, but everybody's got Hafs in their home. That's why this is a problem. You're playing with people's eternities. You're playing with people's eternities. Okay, and trying to rescue, but you know what? I'm like I said, I'm happy that I let Dean put this on because it means he understands that they got a big problem. It's used everywhere. Yes, thank you, Carolina, and so, but just watch the gymnastics that this guy goes through. A lot of it you're not going to be able to understand because his English is so bad, but a lot of it we can understand.
Letter in Quran by mistake, all Muslims would correct him. Secondly, Hafs was born 8 years.
Okay. He said if there was a mistake, Muslims would correct him. He says if there was mistakes, the Muslims would correct him. Look at all the Muslims who are warning you about Hafs. Look at all the Muslims who are warning you about Hafs. And you're not listening to them. Al-Hanbali, Ahmad al-Hanbal, Bukhari, Muslim. And you're not listening to them. There's more I want to say about this, but you guys, now let's go on with this. I want to continue, but I want to say something about this whole Hadith Quran problem, because this is a very big problem, is the whole Quran Hadith problem, because Hafs had his hand in both.
After death of the Prophet, and Quran was written through 1 year of the Prophet's death.
So the Quran was written within a year of the Prophet's death. Okay, now who would like to, he's saying that the Quran was written within a year of the Prophet's death. Actually, he says more. Let's listen to everything he said about the Quran.
Was written through 1 year of the Prophet's death. Every letter in Quran, 8 years after death of the Prophet. And Quran was written through 1 year of the Prophet's death. Every letter in Quran is written even before Hafs by 8 years.
Okay, so He says the Quran was written within a year of Muhammad's death. That's not true. That isn't true. Okay, you guys? Yeah, which Quran? You know, dude, it gives you a headache trying to, put this all together. First of all, there was no Quran at the time of Muhammad's death. There was no codex, no book called the Quran at the time of Muhammad's death. There wasn't any. Muhammad didn't want to write a Quran. And so it was at the Battle of Yamama where um, Abu Bakr and Umar bin Khattab said to Zayd ibn Thabit, dude, write a Quran. Go collect all the papers, collect all of the sticks, all of the stones, all of the leathers, all of the people's memories, and compile it into a Quran. And Zayd ibn Thabit didn't want to do it. He said it would have been easier if they asked me to move a mountain. But it says then that Allah opened his chest and he decided to go ahead and do it. So he did do it, eventually. But he went and collected the whole thing and from people's memories and everything and compiled it into a Quran that he gave to Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr took it, and then gave it to Omar, and Omar gave it to his daughter rather than giving it to the next caliph, Uthman. And then, there's a problem, you guys, is that, if you watch my video yesterday, and on this from the Islamic Encyclopedia, that there were at least 31, and when I counted, it came out to 42, actually, Qur'ans, according to the Islamic Encyclopedia, that were in existence at the time. Aisha had one, Hafsa had one, Salma had one. The 12 companions each had one Quran. The 12 companions each had a Quran. And then you had the other Qurans. There was like so many Qurans out there. And, at least 42 different Qurans. If you watched my video yesterday, I listed them for you from the Islamic Encyclopedia. There were all these different Qurans out there at the time. And so when he says it was written within a year, I guess Dave Johnson's question was really the best thing is which one was written, and this guy's making it going along with the narrative, the standard narrative that Yasser Qadhi said has holes in it, which is that there's one Quran and it was perfectly preserved and perfectly written down. Okay. And so anyway, let's continue listening to him. He says every word. Anyway.
Thirdly, Hafs bin Sulayman wasn't perfect at the same.
Hafs ibn wasn't perfect. Okay, now you guys, he wasn't perfect. This is a huge problem now. This is a huge problem. He says he's not perfect. Now, that's not what everybody else said. Everyone else says he's cavalier, plagiarizer, a liar, that they're done with him, that all his hadiths are false. This guy says he wasn't perfect. He wasn't perfect. So let's listen.
Science of narration, of prophetic tradition, hadith, because all his time was consumed in reading and making others read Quran.
Okay. The reason he wasn't perfect with the hadiths, you guys, the reason he had this reputation that he had in regard to the hadith, the reputation of being a liar, being stealing people's books, plagiarizing. The reason is because he wanted to get people to read the Quran. He was so busy with the Quran and he wanted to make people read the Quran. That's why he was so sloppy, or that's another word for cavalier. He was so sloppy with the hadith. So, I want to hear that again.
Because all his time was consumed in reading and making others read Quran.
Because all his time was consumed reading and making others read the Quran, so he was cavalier and careless with, what you guys, you got to always keep in mind, what was he careless with? What is it that he was careless with? What was he cavalier about? What was he stealing? What was he making up? These are the words of Muhammad, you guys. You know, as a reporter, when I was a reporter, I always understood as a reporter that I was a steward of somebody else's words. I was a steward of somebody else's words. I had to be very faithful. Like when I was a reporter, if somebody said something, somebody said the school board meeting was boring. Somebody said that, but I write it down as the school board meeting was too long. You know, no, the person didn't say it was too long. They said it was boring. But I want to make them look better, so I say, no, it was too long. You know what? What I've done there is that I've misquoted the person. And you know what? They could sue me. They could take me to court and sue me for misquoting them. You can go to, you know what? And I did get in trouble a couple of times for doing that when I was a new reporter, you know? And I've even had friends who were fired for not using the quotes correctly. Well, that's what this guy, it wasn't just anybody's quotes. This was Muhammad's words. When you're talking about hadith, you're talking about Muhammad's words. He was cavalier and careless about Muhammad's words. You know, God bless you, Dragon. Thank you for coming with us, being here while you could. And so he just says, oh, he wasn't perfect. Anyway, let's listen to what else he says.
So he isn't reliable in narrating a hadith. This is reliable in narrating a hadith, was consumed in reading and making others read Quran. So he isn't reliable in narrating a hadith.
Okay, guys. What he said right there is huge. He said he isn't reliable narrating hadiths. You know, maybe because of his limited English, he doesn't. Okay, here's the quote. You can even see it here. So he is not reliable in narrating hadith. This is obvious and normal. What? When you're talking about the words of Muhammad, he is not reliable. You know what that not reliable means? It's what this guy said. He's not trustworthy. He's not trustworthy with the words of Muhammad. And so the question is, if he's not trustworthy with the words of Muhammad, how can you trust him with the words of God? Because what this guy's doing is he's trying to say, listen, he wasn't reliable with Muhammad's words, but he was reliable with Allah's words. Really? He was not reliable with Muhammad's words, but he is reliable with Allah's words. That's why 90% of the Qurans in the world are the Hafs Quran. Now, does anybody believe that? If the guy's cavalier, careless and sloppy, unreliable, this is what this guy says. This guy calls him unreliable. He's defending him. This is the guy who's defending Hafs. He's defending Hafs, and he calls him unreliable. Can you believe this? It makes me think, you guys, in the Bible where Jesus said, he that is faithful in little will be faithful in much. Well, we got the opposite situation here now. He was unfaithful with the little, and they're saying he was faithful with the much. And it's so backwards. But
this is obvious and normal. As men,
it's obvious and normal to be sloppy, cavalier, and to give false hadiths. Look how they're defending this guy. Of course, the words of Allah are not reliable, but it's so funny. It's so funny that the way this guy's trying to defend them, you guys, it's backwards. He's backwards. He's completely backwards. You know, I wanted to come up with an example of the situation. So let me give you my little situation. It's a little, what we call in journalism, an anecdote, which is a little story. And it's kind of trying to demonstrate what this guy is doing. I want to kind of demonstrate for you what this guy is doing. So I'm going to need to, I know this is corny, but, you know, I've outgrown the fear of being corny because I'm corny so much. By the way, I made corned beef, by the way.
spend all his time in one field of knowledge.
Sorry about that. Anyway, I want to show you my corned beef. I made corned beef. It tastes really good, you guys. It tastes really good, but it's really tough. So anyway, so much for my corned beef. And that was a really nice corned beef. Too bad I didn't cook it right, but I'm not a really good cook. Well, I am, but I don't know. You know, I make it taste good, but apparently I didn't know how to make it tender though. Let me tell you my little anecdote, my little story, kind of showing what this guy is doing. Okay, what I'll say, this little story, okay? I need to change the oil in my car. So I take my car to, soak it in beer. But I've already cooked it. You soak it in beer after I don't, but anyway, so, I take my car to the mechanic because I need to change my oil. Oh, really? Okay. So I need to change my oil. Okay, I need to change the oil in my car. But when I take it, there's a mechanic named Hafs. So mechanic Hafs goes, but he's just a little bit cavalier. He's a little bit sloppy. He's a little bit of a liar, and he, and like this guy said right now, unreliable. Unreliable means he's not 100% there. Unreliable. You can't trust him. And so I take my car in so that I can change my oil. Well, what does mechanic Hafs do? He, instead of putting motor oil, he puts olive oil in my car. And so he puts olive oil in my car instead of motor oil. And what happens to my car? My car, the motor is destroyed. Okay, because instead of putting motor oil, he put olive oil because he's just a little unreliable. He's a little cavalier, a little careless, a little bit of a liar, a little bit of a thief, and because of that, and all of these are from the Bukhari, Muslim, Albani, and so he's a little careless. Okay, he was unreliable. So a mechanic Hafs, if I want to get him to change the oil in my car, I take my car in, and because he's a little unreliable, and everybody knows this about him, he's not to be trusted. That's what everybody says about him. So I take in to get my oil change. And instead of putting motor oil, he puts olive oil in my car. Okay, so what happens? What happens to my car? It breaks because he put olive oil instead of motor oil. And so my motor breaks. And so I go to the shop. I say, hey, dude, my car broke because your guy put olive oil instead of motor oil in my car. And then the owner of the shop says, well, you know what? You need to put a new motor in. That's going to cost you $5,000. And I said, who's going to do it? He says, well, mechanic Hafs is going to do it. And I said, but he's the one who put olive oil. And the owner of the shop says, oh, it's okay. He's a little unreliable changing your oil, but he is the best at putting new motors in your car. So we're going to trust him to put the new motor in your car, even though he didn't even know how to change the oil. Okay. And so what you have with Hafs is he messed up the hadith. He was unreliable with the hadith. How can you trust him with the Quran? How can you trust him with the Quran when he messed up the words of Muhammad, when people said these kinds of things about it? And you guys, if you have a Hafs Quran in your house, he's the one. This is the guy we're talking about. This is what your scholars say about him. Okay, now let's anyway, kind of a dumb anecdote. I told you it was corny, but anyway. Gypsy sounds like my mechanic. Are you Jewish, Gypsy? Because that's a Jewish thing to say, oive. So.
Debates in different field, so he becomes perfect in the first. Unlike
okay, he has to throw that in. He becomes perfect in the first. He's perfect in putting the right engine in your car, but he sucks at changing your oil. You guys, I know that's a corny example, but that's exactly what this guy is saying. He'll put olive oil in your car to change your motor oil by putting olive oil instead of changing the oil with motor oil, so it ruins your car. But when it comes to changing the motor in your car, he's perfect at that. He's perfect. So what he's really saying is, he sucked at hadith. He was really bad at hadith collection. He was a liar. He was a thief. He made up stuff according to his contemporaries. But when it came to the Quran, he was perfect. That's what this guy just said. Come on, you guys. If he's cavalier about that, what do you think he feels about the Quran?
Like everyone else in the second, and this is one of his specialties. Unlike everyone else in the second, he becomes perfect in the first. one field of knowledge, then he participates in. This man could spend all his time in one field of knowledge, then he participates in different fields. So he becomes perfect in the first,
Was perfect in the first.
like everyone else in the second. And this is one of specialties at the first Islamic century. Those who specialized and worked all the time in Quran's moods of recitation, qira'at, they didn't go to the prophetic hadith studies, because the prophetic hadith studies needs the entire age for the verification of men and their defects and memorizing.
Okay, there's one thing he says here I'd like to say something about. He says that if you are a Quran expert, like he says Hafs was, he says you can't really go into hadith, because with hadith you got to verify everything with people and go verify everything and you got to ask people about this person, about that person, about, you got to, for all the chains of narration and everything, it takes so much work. He says it takes you a whole lifetime to get all of these hadiths together and to verify everything. So he's saying that Hafs didn't do that very good. He did it really bad. So, but he did the Quran perfect. My question is, why, if Hafs sucked at it so bad, if he was so bad, and everybody, including Bukhari, said he was so bad at collecting, why didn't he just tell everybody, you know what, you guys, I really can't do these hadiths. I don't have the time for it. I'm so focused on Quran and teaching you to read Quran and making sure you read Quran. That's my focus. And because I'm so focused on that, I don't have time to dedicate to the hadith. Why didn't he do that? He didn't do that. What he did is he became cavalier and he just started making stuff up, stealing stuff from people, according to these guys. He stole people's, plagiarized their work. He made, according to this, he made stuff up. He lied. Why didn't he just say, if he's a man of integrity, worthy of writing Allah's words, why didn't he just say, you know what, you guys, I just don't have the energy to do both of these. Instead of being so sloppy with the hadith to get a reputation of being a thief and a liar, as some called him, and then making him the author of the most popular Quran in the world, why didn't he just do that if he was a man of integrity? But he didn't do that. He just kept on writing on both. And, and if he was sloppy, careless, and a liar with the hadith, you can trust that he was sloppy, careless, and a liar with the Quran too. But anyway, let's listen to this guy.
Hundreds of thousands of hadith texts. So it is obvious that Hafs isn't perfect in the prophetic hadith.
Obvious he isn't perfect. It's obvious he isn't perfect.
But at the same time, he was an outstanding scholar in Quran's modes of recitation. The prominent
He was excellent with the
scholar
modes of recitation. Okay, so you're talking about more than one Quran there.
Of the prophetic hadith, Ibn Hajar said that Hafs not acted upon in hadith, but he is one of the best scholars in Quran's modes of recitation. These words of Ibn Hajar are existent in the same source in which you take information, but you take one part and leave the others. And I don't know why you didn't complete the sentence. Imam Hafs is one of the best scholars in Quran's modes of recitation, and all of those scholars that you take information from their books, all of them agree that Hafs is the best in Quran's modes of recitation. Imam al-Dhahabi,
no matter how much you say that, and he's saying it over, and he's going to say it yet another million times, the fact that he was so bad with the hadith, I mean, to the point of matruk, rejected, and now you're trusting him with the Quran, with the Hafs. I hope some people, a lot of people are going to say, oh, you talk about the Quran, you just you're Islamophobic and all this. They're not listening. But you guys, the fact that this guy is defending him, and the fact that he feels the need to defend him because his Hafs' reputation was so bad. Hafs' reputation was so bad that he feels the need to do this video and saying this stuff. And look at all the twisting he's doing in order to try to make Hafs look good.
He said that Hafs is authentic and an outstanding scholar in Quran's modes of recitation. But in prophetic hadith, he is just good. And Umar ibn
Someone's asking modes of recitation. Is that the sab'a ahruf? You opened another can of Pandora's box, because recitation, modes of recitation in Arabic is qira'at. The 7 modes are the sab'a ahruf. So there's qira'at and ahruf. So when you say recitation, you mean the qira'at. And the sab'a ahruf is the modes. So there, are the modes the recitations? No. The sab'a ahruf is what Muhammad got from Jibreel when he kept begging him. And they're all Arabic. Not one of them is Greek or Hebrew or Arab or Italian or English. No, they were all Arabic. Tamimi, Yemeni, and all these different ones, and Qurayshi. But there's the qira'at means recitation, and there are the qira'at, which are the ones that came after the Uthmani situation. But nobody knows what the modes are, and nobody knows, and so they're used interchangeably. So that's why when you talk about modes, sometimes they're talking. Depends who you're talking to. Like my cousins, when I tell them there's all these different Qur'ans, I used to have 5 different Qur'ans, and I used to show them to them. And they said, no, those are the sab'a ahruf. Those are the 7 modes of the Qur'an, even though they were called qira'at. And so it's used interchangeably. Nobody knows what anything is. Nobody knows what the difference is, okay? The modes, listen to what Yasser Qadi says. This is the biggest issue of contention in Islam, is the subject of the sab'a ahruf and the recitation, that there are so many different Qur'ans. He says it's the biggest issue, and for 1,400 years, nobody knows what to do with it. So anyway, so that's the situation of that. But it's a great question, but of course it doesn't have an answer. But okay, we got to have a good joke in here. This is from Cherokee Gypsy. He buys his suits at Hafs Quran. Yeah, it's kind of nice to have those special effects on his jacket. So anyway, I think it's because my internet sucks. And anyway,
he said, there is no doubt that Hafs is weak in hadith studies, but
there's no doubt Hafs is weak in hadith studies. Okay, guys, then why did he do it then? If he was weak, why did he do it? And why? I mean, and it's not just that he did it. He did it badly. And he stole from other people. And he lied and made stuff up. Why did he do it? Why do it? Just say, I can't do it. I want to focus on the Quran so I could teach you and make people fall in love with the Quran, like this guy's saying. Instead, he came up with this lousy reputation from his hadith that we know of. And this guy is acknowledging he's unreliable, very weak. This is what this guy says about Hafs, that he was unreliable, weak. This is what he says, not perfect. And he's defending Hafs. He's defending Hafs, and he's called him unreliable, weak, and unreliable, weak, and what was the other one? This poor guy, is trying to defend him. And I feel bad for him because he's forced to, because if he doesn't, he's got to say, well, if he messed up the hadith that badly, what did he do with the Quran, with the most famous Quran in the world, which is named after him, the Hafs Quran?
He is a scholar with perfect memory.
Perfect memory. Perfect memory. A scholar with perfect memory. And yet he was unreliable, weak, cavalier, plagiaristic, not to be trusted. Come on.
In the Quran's modes of recitation. And Al-Hasan bin Ali bin Ibrahim al-Ahwazi said that Hafs was excellent in the modes of recitation of the Quran. But in hadith, he is not perfect.
He's not perfect, you guys. In hadith, he's not perfect. You see the game they're playing here?
Of a person in one field of knowledge and his weakness in a different field is not strange. Uthman ibn Abi Shayba, for instance, was a scholar in hadith studies, and he is the famous teacher of al-Bukhari, but he is very weak in modes of recitation of the Quran. The scholar al-A'mash
Now he's not just weak, he's very weak.
was also leading in hadith studies, but he was weak in modes of recitation of the Quran. So scholars could care about a branch of knowledge and spend much time and effort in this knowledge. Meanwhile, they give less care for a different field of knowledge. Many leading scholars in the
They give less care. See, that's the problem. If you're going to give less care, why don't you just forget about it altogether? Just focus on the one thing that you're good at. But he didn't. What he did is he worked on the hadith, stole hadith, lied about it, made hadith up. And so how can you trust that guy who lied and stole to write the Quran, the most popular Quran in the world, which he did?
modes of recitation of the Quran in astonishing perfection.
Astonishing perfection. Astonishing perfection.
Were at the same time weak in hadith studies
Weak in hadith studies.
and can't precise one narration of hadith.
Is
And now let me explain to you the accusation of Imam Hafs of lying. Was he a liar? This narration to Ibn Ma'in is false, weak, and not correct.
now he's saying that the hadith where he's called the liar is weak.
This is a rejected narration. The man who
Rejected narrative. You guys ever heard that before? I think they would be called that matruk, which is what they say about Hafs.
referred the sentence to Ibn Ma'in is Ibn Muhriz Ahmad ibn Muhammad al-Baghdadi. He is unknown. He isn't mentioned in the validation and invalidation books. Validation and invalidation books كتب الجرح والتعديل. They didn't mention him because he is unknown. And this approves that this narration to Ibn Ma'in is weak and invalid. No other one told that Ibn Ma'in accused Imam Hafs of lying. Yet Ibn Ma'in himself told that Hafs is the best who transferred the readings of Quran from Asim. And also you have to know that Arabs call mistakes lies and say that the man who makes mistakes is a liar.
Okay, this is where I said I was offended by some of the stuff he says, because now he's throwing all the Arab world under the bus. He's throwing the whole Arab world under the bus. All of us Arabs, we're according to him, we're so dumb we don't know the difference between a mistake and a lie. He says Arabs say that a mistake is a lie. Listen to this again, okay? Of course, he's Arab, so he gets away with it, but I think he's Arab. Well, maybe he's not. I think he is, though.
The readings of Quran from Asim. And also you have to know the Arabs call mistakes lies.
Arabs call mistakes lies. Arabs call mistakes lies. To justify Hafs, he's throwing all of us under the bus. I can see the wheels of the school bus coming to my head. It's going to run me over because he just threw me under the bus. He says, I'm so dumb that I think a lie and a mistake are the same thing. I don't know the difference between a lie and a mistake. And I call people who make mistakes liars. So if I'm teaching a kid, say 3 plus 3 is 6, and the kid says 3 plus 3 is 7, I say, you're a liar. Because he made a mistake, so he's a liar. So he threw us all under the bus, man. So I don't know if there's any other Arabs here. Please come and express your pain at being called whatever he's calling us. He's calling us dumb, saying that we don't know the difference between a mistake and a lie. We call people who make mistakes liars. Dude, this is the kind of pretzel situation. I need pretzels. I need a pretzel that you have to get into to defend this insanity, man. Hafs was according to his contemporaries, all these things, that he now has the most famous Quran in the world. And this poor guy has to go on and jump through all these hoops to make Hafs look good. And so he has thrown me under the bus. He has thrown me under the bus to defend Hafs. He said all the Arabs we're so dumb, we think a mistake is a lie. Thank you so much. Let's hear that again. كذب وغلط. يا عيب. This is funny. Let's look at what David Johnson wrote. كذاب. Okay. يا عيب شوم غلط كذب.
That Hafs is the best who transferred the readings of Quran from Asim. And also you have to know the Arabs call mistakes lies.
The Arab call mistakes lies. Ah. So it's my fault. The Arabs call mistakes lies. Twisted like a pretzel, yes.
And say that the man who makes mistakes is a liar.
So we say, we do this. We dumb Arabs, we do this. We dumb Arabs, this is what we do. We say people who make mistakes, we call them liars. I just want to tell you that, I got Arab blood in my veins, and I don't do this. I don't call people who make mistakes liars. Okay, I don't appreciate it. This is why I said I was offended by some of the stuff. But he's got to offend us to defend Hafs from his own contemporaries. He's got a big problem. Ala ad-Din, عيب عليك يا عمي. You support this guy? Look what he says about Arab. Look what he says about Arab. He said, we don't know the difference between a mistake and a lie. And when we see somebody make a mistake, we call them a liar. Right? This is the guy you're promoting? Because Alet had this video on his page. That's why I got it. So I know it's everywhere. It's not just on his page. It's not everywhere, but it's elsewhere. And so, but this is how this is what you got to do to defend Hafs. This is what you got to do.
For example, Imran told Samura, when Samura said that if a man faints, he prays an additional prayer with the regular ones. Samura told him, you lied, but they should pray all together. So he called.
You see what he did there? He took this little story. There's a woman named Samura, and she's talking to this guy, and this guy says that if a man faints and he misses his prayer, then he's got to pray again. And then Samura said to him, the lady said to him, you lie.
Called a mistake a lie. No one said.
She called the mistake a lie. Come on, Habibi. Please, man. This is so embarrassing. This is so embarrassing. I'm Arab like you. I had a beard. My beard used to be black like yours. I haven't had hair, as much hair as you do a long time. But my beard used to be black like yours. You really are embarrassing us. You're throwing us under the bus and you're embarrassing us. Okay, and your logic is so pathetically weak.
That Hafs was a liar. Otherwise, if he lied on time, all could tell about him. And everyone would know that.
And if he lied, when was that? Okay, now he's going to give us a nutshell, you guys, and this nutshell is a nutshell. It is a nutshell. But let me just show you. I just want to show you a hadith where. Okay, you know what? I really do feel bad for the guy. Here's a. Okay, this is from the book. Again, this is from Sam's Answering Islam article. Very excellent article. Thank you, Sam Shimon. Dude, you're the rock star, man, for putting all this together. But this is from. I believe this is. Well, which book was this from? Let me just look at where it was from. Okay, let me just see. I think these are all from one particular book. Let me just find. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure exactly where. Unless it's from the same book, which is الدفعة المتروكين والمتروكين. الضعفاء والمتروكين, the weak and the rejected hadiths. The name of the book is The Weak and the Rejected Hadiths. Okay, I believe this is it here, and this is a quote from it. Okay, and okay, Al-Saji said from Ahmad ibn Muhammad al-Baghdadi that Ibn Mu'in said Hafs and Abu Bakr were among the most knowledgeable of the Qira'at of Asim. Hafs was more competent than Abu Bakr, but he was a liar. But Abu Bakr was truthful. He was a liar, but Abu Bakr was truthful. So do what you want with it. I didn't write it. So anyway, okay, here's in a nutshell. You guys, this is a nutshell. I've listened to it like about 3 times, and so let's listen.
In a nutshell, number 1, Quran is transferred through recurrence from the mouth of our Prophet, peace be upon him, to hundreds of thousands of Muslims.
Okay, here's to hundreds of thousands of Muslims who memorized every letter within every mode of recitation. From the mouth of the Prophet to hundreds of thousands. Now, I was watching Hatun Tash's program yesterday or the day before, and I think this is where she was with Jai Apologetics, and they made a very interesting point. If there were hundreds of thousands of Muslims who had memorized the Quran, why was Abu Bakr so terrified when 70 people died in the Battle of Yamama? He was so scared that he said, we need to write the Quran or we're going to lose it, when 70 people died. Because these were the Hafaz. These are the guys who memorized the Quran. And so when these guys started dying, 70 of them died in the Battle of Yamama. You know what? He says, we need to write the Quran or we're going to lose it because everybody's dying. If there was hundreds of thousands of these people who had memorized every letter of every mode of recitation, how come he was so scared after 70 of them died? Why was he so scared when 70 died that he said, we need to do something that Muhammad didn't do? Muhammad did not write the Quran down. He did not collect a codex, a book. He did not do that. And Zayd ibn Thabit said he didn't want to do it. And that's why Zayd ibn Thabit did not want to do it. He said it would have been easier for me to move a mountain. But then Allah came and opened his heart, and after it got a lot of persuasion from Abu Bakr and Umar bin Khattab, I don't know if the persuasion was backed by a sword, I don't know. But Allah opened his heart and he did it. But he didn't want to do it. And he said specifically, the reason Zayd ibn Thabit didn't want to write the Quran is because Muhammad didn't want to do that. He said, how can I do something the Prophet didn't do? Okay, so memorize every dot. But this guy is here, dude. This guy is lying. He's lying, Memorize every letter within every mode. And this brings me to my question. When Zayd ibn Thabit went and collected all the bones and all the leaves and all everything that the Quran was written on and collected it into a book, did he do all seven modes? Did he write 7 Qurans? And when it says that the Hafsa had a Quran, did that have all 7 modes in it, or was it just one? Because remember, Uthman burned 6. Uthman, a few years later, this guy's saying, Uthman burned 6 of them, and then he wrote another one. He did use Hafsa's Quran in it, but he also made changes to it. How do we know he made changes? Because he told Zayd ibn Thabit and 2 other guys, he told them, you guys go through it, and he says, if you disagree with Zayd about anything, just put the Qurayshi dialect, use the Qurayshi dialect. That means that they were going to make changes to it, and they did. So you guys, this guy, anyway.
Who will memorize every letter within every mode of recitation. And nowadays, there are millions of Muslims memorizing every letter of Quran within every mode of recitation.
And every mode of recitation. Are they memorizing all 37 Qurans? He's saying to this day, there's Muslims memorizing every mode of it. Is that all 37 or all 52 or however many Qurans there are now?
And they know men who told about from now to back, then to the mouth of our Prophet. Peace be
Mouth of the Prophet
upon him through the Hafs way and other ways.
Other ways, you guys, do you hear that? Do you hear that, you guys? this guy is defending Hafs and the Quran.
This way is called ijaza. Number 2.
It's called the ijaza now. This is a new word, you guys. Ijaza. This is a new word, okay? Let's go.
Quran is written with its modes of recitation, even before Hafs got born by 8 years. Number 3, Hafs was leading.
It was written already. You guys, are you listening to what this guy's saying? The Quran was written 80 years before Hafs was born. So there was already a Quran written. Then why did Hafs need to write another one? Why did Hafs need to write another one? Yes, Muhammad said there was time. And the thing is, Jesus light for all nations. You know, what's interesting too is that there's a verse about it. It says, that Allah does not abrogate a verse. Okay, no, if Allah abrogates a verse or makes it to be forgotten. This is in the Quran right now. Everybody who has a Quran, if it's a Hafs or a Warsh or Susi, Dudi, Kalun, Al-Khalaf, Jalalain, or Ibn Kathir, whatever, and it's not the Ibn Kathir of the Ibn Kathir book, it's Ibn Kathir version of the Quran. If you have any of those, go and read it. It's chapter 2, verse 106. Allah makes people forget verses of the Quran. He says, if Allah abrogates a verse or makes it to be forgotten, Allah makes verses of the Quran to be forgotten. Why does he send it down if he wasn't going to make people forget it? Think about that, people. Please think about the logic of it. Why would Allah send down a verse and then make people forget it? Why did he send it in the first place if you're going to make people forget it later on? What? Allah knows everything, right? Oh. Hey, Truth Defender. How are you, brother? Al-Bukhari narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet used to become more generous at Ramadan. Jibreel used to meet him every night during Ramadan to revise the Quran with him. Wow. Sahih al-Bukhari 43554. Are you sure this isn't a hadith that Hafs wrote? Are you sure this isn't a hadith that Hafs wrote? Would you like to come on? I'll send you an invitation if you'd like to come on. I know you say you're shy. I don't believe you for a minute, but so. Oh, interesting. Or deceivers. Only schemers rub their hands together with a toothy smile. There was a Suda, but I don't remember it. You know what? That actually happened, and, but you guys, there was a couple of things that this guy did that really stood out to me. Number one, the whole thing about a mistake is a lie. So, the reason he said that is because someone called Hafs a liar. Someone called Hafs a liar. The Hafs of the Hafs Quran called him a liar, meaning that no Muslim should trust his Quran, in other words, because he's a liar. That's why this guy's saying, well, lie means he just made mistakes. And he did make mistakes. He made mistakes with the hadith, not the Quran. The Quran was perfect, but he made mistakes with the hadith. But he wouldn't say he was a liar who was making stuff up. Now, his contemporaries said he was a liar and he made stuff up. Now, this guy's trying to defend Hafs. And so what he did, he changed the language. You change the language. And how many times have we seen this language change? Mutawafika, which means I make you to die, from the word wafat, which means death. That means put you to sleep. I had a guy the other day. Where I was witnessing. He says, death, wafat, abadan, mabta'i al-maut, abadan. Death never means death. Never. Because there's a word in the Quran saying that Jesus died 2 times. Tawfiq, tawafaytani. Assalamu alaykum, So they got to change the language. Got to change the language. And you guys, when people have to change the language, beware. When it says, "Inni mitwafik," I made you to die, they say it means I took you, instead of I made you to die, which is what it means, because you have to change the language. When it says that Jesus created a bird, but only Allah creates. So when they translate it, what do they say? They don't say created. No, they said he designed a bird. But the Arabic says khalaq, which means create. Why is that? Because you got to change the language. You're at the point now where you have to change the language. You see, and this guy is changing the language, you guys. He's changing the language. He says, of course, it's only us Arabs that do this. Of course, it's me. Of course, it's my relatives he's talking about now. He says, with the Arab, with the Arabs, when you make a mistake, they call you a liar. When you make a mistake, so when people make mistakes, we Arabs call them liars because we don't know the difference between a mistake and a lie. Let me just tell you a little bit about those two words, mistake and lie. Let me just say something about that, because since I've been accused of this, yeah, he accused me of doing this because he said Arabs do this. Okay, he says that when somebody makes a mistake, we call them a liar. This is a sheikh, you guys, who's saying this. This is a sheikh. I didn't make it up. I showed it. I better play it again because so nobody said that I'm making this up. Okay.
In the moods of recitation, mistakes, lies, and say the man who makes mistakes is a liar.
Okay.
Mistakes, lies. The best who transferred the readings of Quran from Asim. And also you have to know the Arabs call mistakes lies and say
Arabs call mistakes lies. We don't know the difference between a mistake and a lie. Us Arabs don't know the difference between mistakes and lies. Allah ysamhak, ya ammi. Allah ysamhak.
The man who makes mistakes is a liar. For example,
Say that a man who makes mistakes, we say he's a liar. يا علاء يا عمي عيب عيب يا عمي ليش جايب هذا؟ Let me just play that again because I want the Arabs to hear it. I hope Arabs are listening.
The readings of Quran from Asim. And also you have to know the Arabs call mistakes lies and say
Arabs. I've never known an Arab who calls mistakes lies, but yalla.
The man who makes mistakes is a liar.
Say that a man who makes mistakes is a liar. The only reason he's throwing us all 300 million of us, there's 300 million Arabs in the world, he's throwing all of us under the bus. And the reason is, you guys, because somebody called Hafs a liar. I showed it to you. Somebody called Hafs a liar. So what he's saying is, you see, Arabs don't know the difference between a lie and a mistake. We're too dumb. We don't know the difference between a lie and a mistake. So, this is when I said I was offended by it. This is what I'm offended by. He's saying we don't know the difference between a lie and a mistake. Okay, and because he said this, I just want to talk about the difference between a lie and a mistake. Let's talk about the difference between a lie and a mistake. A mistake is somebody who says, oh, 3 plus 3 equals 7. 3 plus 3, that's a mistake. A lie is when, I stole $100 and I say, no, I did not steal $100. That's a lie. You see, the difference between the mistake and the lie. Let's just look at the very detailed aspect. What is the difference between a mistake and a lie? The number one difference between a mistake and a lie, there's many differences, but this is a very big, important one, especially in light of what he's saying, is intent. Intent. When I lie, I intend to lie, and I intend to deceive. The mistake, I just didn't know. 3 plus 3, I say 3 plus 3 equals 7. Oh, that was a mistake. I meant 3 plus 3 equals 6. But when I lie, I'm intending to deceive you. So I know the difference between a lie and a mistake. They're not the same. And even as an Arab, I know the difference between a lie and a mistake. So please don't throw all of us, all 300 million of us, under the bus to justify Hafs. Hafs was called a liar, but You don't have to throw all of us under the bus to justify him. And then go change the language. Anyway, isn't that funny? So let's see if there's anything else I want to say about this guy
For
before we go.
example, Imran told the Samura,
Okay, whatever.
in a nutshell, number one, Quran is transferred through recurrence from the mouth of our Prophet, peace be upon him, to hundreds of thousands of Muslims who will memorize every letter
Olive
within
oil
every
in my
mood
car.
of recitation. And nowadays, there are millions of Muslims memorizing every letter of Quran within every mood of recitation. And they
Mode of recitation.
no men who told about from now to back, then to the mouth of our Prophet, peace be upon him, through the Hafs way and other ways. Those ways called ijaza. Number two, Quran is written with its moods of recitation, even before Hafs was born by 8 years.
So why, if what you're saying is right, that it was written 80 years before Hafs, where is that Quran that was written 80 years before Hafs? Where is it? How come Hafs had to write another one? How come Asim had to come up with another one? How come Hafs had to write one that has so many mistakes in it and contradictions, historical? Maybe that one that was written 80 years before he was born, maybe that didn't have all the historical mistakes about Midian and about geography and about the moon setting in a muddy pool. Maybe those things weren't in it. Maybe Hafs is the one that put all that in. And all the contradictions that are in the Quran. Maybe that one that was written 80 years before him. Where is that one? Where is that 80 years ago Quran? Where did it go? Why did Hafs have to write another one? Volume 4. Okay. Anyway, let's listen to a little bit more and just.
Number three, Hafs was leading in the moods of recitation of the Quran. He spent his life teaching them, but he didn't spend as much time for the narration of the hadith. It is an honor for him to have the blessing of God, as he cared about the Quran and its letters, letter by letter. And then you say, this nonsense? Is this your argument?
It is nonsense. The nonsense is your arguments, man. So anyway, this is how this guy. It's very sad. It really is. It makes me sad. You know, it makes me sad to see this. So, تصبح على خير من حبك كتير ربنا يوفقك. Thank you so much, David Johnson. God bless you too. The Lord bless you, brother. And so, anyway, God bless you. Hey, Uzma Khan, welcome. God bless you, and welcome to all of you guys. And you know, I know maybe some of you guys, if you need to go, that's okay. But I just wanted to show a little bit. Do we know Hafs' age? Maybe he was 12. Well, you know what? For all the hadith work he did, he couldn't just be 12 years old. You know, he, I mean, I don't know. You know, that's a good question, actually. I should probably find out before I say anything because it is relevant to this discussion. But anyway, I just wanted to show you a couple of things that happened when I was out witnessing today. So anyway, that was what I wanted to show you about the Hafs. And you know what? But I'm happy that Alat put this on. I'm glad he posted it on his site. And I hope that I'm happy because he's aware that there is a big problem. There is a big problem. The truth is coming after this thing. The truth is coming after you. And when truth comes, you know, there's no cure. You just got to say this. What else did you lie to us about? That's what you're going to have to come to say. What else did you lie to us about? And then come to the truth. The truth is Jesus Christ. The truth is, thank you, Alex, bro. Thank you so much. You're always such a blessing. I appreciate you, your encouragement all the time. And all of you guys, thank you for being here. I know some of you guys have been with me here it's almost been an hour and a half. I just want to show a couple things real quickly. I'm just going to show not very quickly about some stuff that happened today when I was out witnessing. There's one particular guy who spoke Arabic. He was Arab, and but he had I don't want to say he had a chip on his shoulder, but He was a nice guy. I liked him. I enjoyed talking to him. But then at the end, he called me the F word. At the end, he called me the F word. But but also, I got one of my cousins that I haven't talked to in a long time. He came on today. Came on and made comment on this particular video that I'm going to show you. And this cousin, I was thinking about him a couple days ago, thinking, wow, I haven't heard from him in a long time. I missed him. I wish he'd come back on. And he did come back on. He did say that, he hopes that Allah will curse me and kill me. But he does say that in Arabic. Allah yal'anaku yukhdak, That's one place where take does mean death. Allah yukhdak, God take you, which means to kill you, But anyway, I'm still glad that he came back on because I haven't seen him in a long time. So anyway, let me just go ahead and show you a couple of videos of what happened today. They're very short, so. Biden left Americans behind. Yes, he did. Biden left Americans behind. Yes, he did. Biden left Americans behind. Yes, he did. Okay, here's the two videos. Let's just, I'd like to just look at the, okay, here's the, الله يباركك أخ صباح ربي يباركك. اوكي بتقرا عربي؟ طيب خليك بدي اياك تقراها من القرآن، اوكي؟ عشان Okay, I asked God, do you read Arabic? I said I want to read this from the Quran. في سورة بتعرف انت سورة آل عمران طبعا ومكتوب في سورة I told him you know Surah of Amran because I told him about Jesus' death and he said no, Jesus didn't die. And I told him, well, look at Surah Al Imran, chapter 3 of the Quran, verse 55. Surah Al Imran. خليني بس عشان عيني أنا ختيار شوي وبطول هيوتا هين اقراها إياها ومكر الله والله لا okay كمل he's really مكر Allah, which is they deceived him and Allah deceived and Allah is the best of deceivers. He read that. That's not what I wanted him to read, but it's right before the verse I wanted him to read. قال الله يا عيسى إني متوفيك ورافعك إلي ومطهرك من الذين كفروا وجاعل الذين اتبعوك فوق الذين. And there he quotes the oh, Allah says to Jesus, oh Jesus, I made you to die and raised you up to myself. So anyway, let me show you the argument part. See if it's done. Okay, بوريك كمان. أبغى أجيب كاسة مي. Okay, بس. لكن إحنا بنحكي عن موضوع. Then what happened is he started trying to change the subject by saying, let's talk about the Bible and start bringing stuff about the Bible because he wanted to change the subject because he was losing the argument. And so anyway, it didn't go too far, and he did call me the F word, but no. But the funny thing is, at the end he did run away, and but you know what? I enjoyed talking to him. You know what? And even though it went like that, you guys, I believe, because when I was a teenager, somebody took me out, shared the gospel with me. I didn't want to listen to him. I told him, I'm a Muslim. I don't want to listen. But within a few weeks, I got saved. The Holy Spirit came. So when you have a chance to witness someone, even if they don't respond correctly, you're still doing something. Because the power of the Holy Spirit inside of you, the power of the Word of God that you're speaking is powerful. The seed you plant is powerful. So plant that seed. Even if they might reject and cuss at you, so what? That seed is in their heart. And one day the Holy Spirit might come and water that seed and cause it to grow. Because one plants, one waters, but the Holy Spirit gives the increase. One day the Holy Spirit will come. And he does that with Muslims, and pray for them that they have dreams and visions. And so anyway, thank you guys for being with me. I appreciate that. And you know what? It's almost been an hour and a half, so I'm not going to make you guys listen to another song of mine. Thank you for being with me. I appreciate it. The Lord bless you. And if you haven't done it, do it now. Say, Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. يسوع ساعدني، يسوع سامحني، يسوع ادخل قلبي. يسوع ساعدني، يسوع سامحني، يسوع ادخل قلبي. He loves you. I love you. Thank you so much for being with us. God bless you. Have a great night. And I just want to say one more time, thank you, Sam Shimon, for your amazing work on this article about this subject. Is great.